Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Mark from Powersonic. We are on another solar install. This one is a bit of a beast again. We have got 31 panels going on here. We are in the Lake District where I'm led to believe, rains quite a bit, and we're certainly finding that at the moment. We're mid-project, so the guys are up on the roof just finishing the hooking and railing. We got here around lunchtime yesterday, towards the end of day 2 now. The battery system behind me, as you can see, is on and commissioned and working. I'm just missing my DC isolators. The customer's looking after us brilliantly. We've been spoilt rotten with bacon sandwiches, loads of cups of tea. They're really nice, so massive thank you for taking care of us through this project. It really is appreciated, and we are very lucky to have such incredible customers on all of these projects we do, and we're not ungrateful for that, so thank you. If you're a customer out there who'd like to work with us and have us propose a system for your home, there'll be a link in the description where you can go off and get in touch with us. A really short contact form where we try and gather just enough info to give you an outline price pre-final surveys and such. That's the method that we find, due to the geography of working all over because of the YouTube video and the nature of finding customers absolutely everywhere. So wherever you are, even if you think you're too far away, pop a message over and just see what we can do. We love these challenging systems. We love travelling around now and then to various parts of the country. This is a beautiful part of the world here, and it'd be a pleasure to do the same for you. Without any further ado, let's dive in and see what this system's all about. So this is our south roof, and that means that's our east roof if my compass reading skills are correct. You can see the guys are just getting out. This is the last one we've got to hook. It's just starting raining ever so slightly harder than it has been, and it is due to be pretty stormy and wet the next few days, so this is going to be a fun one to panel, but we will have all our hooks in today, and that's kind of where we want it to be. So we're in a nice spot ready for the morning. Valk case again. You can see we've got the yellow plastic packers. So these packers help you take up the distance between the timber and your tiles. These are quite a thick concrete tile. Russell Grampians, no, Redland 90s, these ones are. So yeah, they need a little bit of packing up. You just need to make sure you get the long fixings. You can get them in a 6.5 and a 5.5 with your Valk screws. So you need to make sure you get the bigger of the ones really if you've got packers in use, which we always use them anyway, to be fair. And yeah, this one here, we've got the 3 panels in landscape, our vertical rails. You can see where they've marked the position of those. So we've got 4 hooks up each side there for the 3 panels, and then there's 4 hooks on that individual panel up there. Just not quite enough space to squeeze another one in there, which is a bit of a shame. We couldn't shuffle it any further to make it work, so we are where we are with that. So yeah, there's a few hooks to get driven in there. I'll show you on the other side. So this is the other south roof. This is the little nib at the end where we're going to get 3 panels in landscape. So you see there's quite a few hooks going on these just because of the layout of where the timbers ended up finishing and the clamping positions we needed on the panels. When they're offset, there's always a bit of basically your rails aren't in straight lines. So you can see here we've got a rail here. This rail wasn't quite in position there if we're going to have symmetry with the panels, so it looks nice in the space you've got. We couldn't use this rail, it was too far from the edge of the panel for its clamping zone, so a little bit of extra work, but it's worth it for the nicer result rather than having skew width. So this is our west roof, and it's the biggest one we've got. There's 15 panels going on here. We have got horizontal rails. The timbers in the roof were in sort of weird spacings, and kind of some of them are diagonal as well. There's lots of bracing that's been going on when the roof's been strengthened while it was re-roofed, so we're kind of working with that as best we can to make sure we're making sure we get adequate fixings of our system onto the roof. We couldn't use vertical rail just because of the way those timbers were all over the place basically, so we've gone horizontal. You end up with more hooks that you need to grind out and fit to carry the more rail you're putting onto the roof to take the mounting position of the panels when they're in landscape with horizontal rails. So there is a bit of extra work there. Has caused us a bit of an unexpected pain, but this was re-roofed after survey, so we were kind of a bit blind to this, is the short story, but we're working with it. 6 in the bottom, 5 the next row up, 4 on top, and this will be a stonking bit of generation when it's done. You can see all the tiles are ground out, so we always do this. They're sat flat, there's no lifts or anything in there. There is a few tiles we need to replace that have chipped, which we'll go over and make sure we suss those out before we drop the panels on. But we're looking good this side. It's just that on the other side to do, and it's started to rain, which is always annoying, but it is what it is when you're in the Lake District. So we've got the battery 10s again on this. These are 9 kilowatt hour batteries, and we've also got our 10 kilowatt inverter. Again, Sigenergy, absolute beast, 4 MPPTs. You've seen these lots on the channel already. And this one's on and commissioned. We're just waiting our DC isolators, which weren't in the delivery. So we've got our outgoing DC PV Ultras there. Just to say about those, if you haven't seen them close up, these are your 2 coloured cores. So you've got 2 pairs, a red and white and a red and white, numbered 1 and 2. So that's a string, positive and negative, and that's another string, and they basically go up to your solar panels and connect one to the other all the way through the string. Start the positive, bring the negative back, whichever way you like to describe your electrons taking power around DC circuit, and that makes the magic happen. So we've got our AC isolator here. This is 100 amps. It's not necessary for a 100 amp isolator. We're just using it for the space. So if you'd seen on the last videos, we're trying to bring the Tigo CCAs onto the same circuit as our inverter. So if there is a shutdown of the system, it will make the optimizer shut the power down off the roof as well. Seemed to make more sense setting it up like that. So that's what we've gone for, and we just needed the extra room in this to allow for that. So we can house our CCA in there and its power pack, and it's quite happy, lots of space. Obviously for our inverter here, we've got a 10mm cable, so it's very much oversized for what that's going to require, but it is there ready to go. I've just loose tied these cables up for now. We have got our main supply right next to here for the gateway, so that's working around the existing service head as best we can. It's never going to be the neatest just because of what it is. There's not really anything you can do with containment, but then we're coming out into our 150 trunking neatly into the end, and then we're sat the gateway on top, so it's nice and neat, and the stuffers are retained on these, so it clamps tight down onto the trunking as well. So all those cables are well protected, they're not going to be pulled out, they can't move. Stuffers have got them, terminal cage clamps have got them, and it's a really secure, solid way of doing it. I think the newer gateways have got like a shield on them, so you maybe don't need to go to this trouble, but for the minute this is what we like to do. It just hides everything away. We have used smaller trunking before, and then you gland down in and out, but this just works nicer. This is very expensive trunking, by the way. A length, it's like 150 odd quid, you wouldn't believe, but it saves a lot of hassle. It looks nicer, so we've gone for that. We've also got our grid feed, which brings the power in from your electricity meter. That then works with all the magic sensors and electronics to throw this contactor in and out, depending on if there is grid voltage present or not, so you can safely island if needs be. We've then got our SPD, which is on the AC side of things, and that's just in there to look for any transient voltages on the supply network, to buffer those out before it gets into any of your kit or this kit of itself. The backup port goes off to your house consumer unit, so that's the one that's living up here and takes itself away. But we've got our 10 kilowatt Sigen power bank in there, and that is C63 rated, so that is going to take the power down to our AC isolator and connect into the system. Basically, the other ports are spare for EV chargers, further inverter stacks. We've been through that a lot before on the channel. The pull-in contactor, one is for the smart port, one is for the grid. If you activate the smart port, then it'll do your heat pump or air conditioning or a third-party PV system, whatever you want it to do. That's why it's smart. You tell it, the system knows it, monitors and controls it based upon that. Customer already had an optical smoke alarm up here, which is great, so we're in an outside store, and I guess the electrician who changed the consumer unit popped that there, which is handy because that means we don't have to. We've got our earth electrode in. However, with all of the metallic services, it's really much of a muchness. Our main cable comes up straight out the ground as well. We've got the water bond, the gas bond, they're all metal, they're all straight in the ground. We're dug in a hillside. Our piddly little bit of copper we've chucked into the mix is going to make no difference whatsoever, but the regulations guide us to do it, and that's what we do. We've done some testing with our MFT Pro. We always go around and check for ZS's on final circuits. You know, we've made a major change to the system by taking the tails out of the existing board, popping them into our gateway, reworking all of that. We want to be sure that we haven't introduced any faults into the system through the course of doing that. So as a courtesy and care, even though once we've measured the ZS, our final output point on the board, we kind of know that we've got everything back where it should be. It makes sense to just quickly go in the property, get a few ZS's and make sure everything is where it needs to be on that front. And that's kind of it. The PV Ultras track through that way. They then run through to the house and then up into the roof space to power our PV panels. I'll show you what the guys have been up to on the roof. I have got a Dell Toughbook now. I was sick of damaging my laptop and causing all kinds of mayhem with its screen. This is much more resilient to my work environment and lack of care for technology when I am out on site, I suppose. I've had the Milwaukee M12 fleet of tools on this one. This is a new one that Nathan's chosen for us, primarily for using on ladders, I think, when he's banging PV Ultras through the wall. But this is a Milwaukee Fuel. It's M12. It's got the little anti-vibration buffer on there, which I think is different to the M12 SDS I've got. And it will do just chiseling. I don't know if that's going to be good enough for chasing. I think it's like 1.1 joules impact rating, and for point of context, the Bosch ones we've got are 3 or 4 joules. The bigger DeWalt's, I think, are like 9 joules of impact energy, basically blow a brick out with one punch. So we'll give it a whirl. We'll give it a whirl at a bit of chasing, I'm sure. I've just been using it for knocking me red plugs and screws in. It's absolutely buzzed through these hard bricks. These are very hard bricks, but it made light work of them, which is good. So yeah, that's kind of that. If I step back and show you how it all lives. So the stack can grow. Nothing's in its way, which we always try and set these up as when space allows and the customer is happy for that offset. Some customers like it all neatly above each other, but the prospect of adding more battery modules usually makes them realise we'll shove it to one side. We had a nice little corner to work with in there, set all of our stuff in. The customer's been great and cleared this space. It was handy that all of the metering and everything is right there as well. And this system now is going to provide backup power. It's going to make full use of these solar panels. We've got 31 450 watt JA solars on this absolute beastie system. We've got our Tigo optimization monitoring rapid shutdown, and we've got 18 kilowatt hours of storage, which is a boosted bonus to the customer because they were only specified 16, so there's an extra couple in there, FOC on the project. And that's a nice little bonus we're giving to our clients now on these projects where we have spec'd 8 kilowatts of the past. Our sales pipeline is a few months behind where we're actually installing, and where we can, when stock's available and there's enough room in the budget, then we're doing that just at our cost. You're talking 100 quid a battery module, so it's a nice thing to do. Customers always happy. Leave a nice review. I think it's worth it, but some people take the view that the extra 100 quid is better in your pocket than their pocket. It is different for all of us, I'm sure. But yeah, that's that. We'll go and look at the roof. It's going to be peeing it down, so we'll see what content we can get. I'm definitely not going to be able to fly the drone on this one, but I'll show you the roofs and how it's all coming together. So it stopped raining. Thought I'd get a bit of footage while it had stopped. These are the Valk hooks. We've ground them all out. Tiles are all back flat, as you can see. We never leave these tiles set up. The reason you shouldn't is if you get wind and weather blowing onto the roof, which it will do. It's amazing how much wind uplift you get sucking around your panels. It can blow back through the tile, end up on your felt. Should keep it out, but it's a secondary layer. It's not your main weatherproofing. Your tiles are your weatherproof finish on your roof. It's so important that you try and maintain that, which is why we get them back flat. We want to make sure these roofs aren't going to leak just because some solar panels have been fitted onto them. So that's why we go to that trouble. Guys will just finish off around the other side. I'll give you a really quick once around, just because I know tomorrow it's going to be pitting it down and I probably won't get much footage. Beautiful view down there. Look at this. Absolutely stunning. I'm going to have a walk down there at some point and see what that little stream's all about. Lake District is so beautiful. Here we've got the 3 panels on the end, again all ground out, nicely done. The guys are just finishing off the one last roof, so that end south roof is done. This one we're just popping the tiles back in. 9 panels on here, so these we've managed to get vertical rails because the timber's worked in the right way, which has helped. Less hooks, easier to get the roof sorted. Same on this one, we're just taking out these extractor vents. So the customers asked us to do that and pop some vents in the soffit for them. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but we'll get there, I'm sure. There's always ways and means. We could even vent them to the side of the array, to be fair. We might end up doing that at some point. We'll see. We'll see. We won't leave them spewing out into the loft, that's for sure. Because yeah, this is a good old stretch actually off steps up to this back roof, so it's going to be a bit of a task. We'll see how we get on with that. We definitely want to fit under those panels, so yep, they've got to come off. We'll figure it out. We always do. Same on this side. So there's another one here. This one's a bit easier because it's nearer the front where the bungalow is a bit higher, so we can get up to the soffit without any problem off our ladders and sort that out. The other two we might just move. We'll see. We'll see. So these are the rails are on, and the guys have levelled these, so you get adjustment on these clamps. So if your roof's a bit up and down, this one wasn't too bad. You can take some of those lumps and bumps out with these Valk hooks, so you get your lateral movement. To account for that, we've got our PV ultras out in the right place, all cable tied up. We've popped the ends on. If it was raining, we wouldn't do that till right at the end. See the guys loading these panels on now. Around this side, we still need to pop the rail on here. We were short on our delivery, has now turned up, so that's waiting to go on. There's a little job, and these rails are all on, ready to go. PV ultras out, taps out and wired. So they've done a great job there, and these panels now will fly down. You can see the stream in the distance. It's running a good one. It's the fastest I've seen it flowing since we've been here. So obviously that rainwater coming off all the hills, working its way to the sea. So this is the process of the panels, and the first job is to try and get it square and straight. The issue you have is if you don't, you can run out, and by the time you've got down here 6 panels in landscape long, you end up with a noticeable drop off. So we're trying to make sure we cover them bases, get it nice and straight. The first 2 are the most important, the rest just drop on afterwards. So take a little bit more time with that. But yeah, that's the roof. Once the guys have finished, I will show you the final outcome of what all these arrays look like. But I just wanted to show you hooks ground out, tiles back flat, rail perfectly levelled, fully secured down. These need to resist both wind uplift and down forces, so we're trying to spread the weight out into the timbers on your roof structure. If you're a bit sparse with your hooks, all that pressure transfers into less timbers in the building, and you can cause stress and cracks to those. And equally, if the wind gets under them and starts to pull out force on your fixings, you can rip the whole thing off. So you've got to be really, really careful with that. And all the design is where this is baked in, and then when you come to your install, should be pretty straightforward as long as you follow the instructions. So we've got our little packers here which just help us get even spacing between rows. So you can see here we're trying to take a half panel exactly as our split as we scale up, and these just help set the distance between the rows so we're consistent all the way down. So that's us wired. We've got our DC isolators here, which have got our feeds going out to the roof in PV Ultra 4-core 6mm, and we've also got the same leading off to our inverter here. So those 4 cores carry 2 strings basically. So we've got 4 MPPTs in here, 4 strings in total. We've got our AC isolator, which is looking after rapid shutdown and all the monitoring. The Tiger system's online. Everything seems to be functioning as it should. There we've got the handles left for the batteries if they grow. We've started to leave these cables free flowing now out of our isolators, and the reason we're doing that is as these stacks grow, it just makes it a little bit easier to adjust the layout of the cabling. Left slack behind just enough for this inverter if it ever to live up here. It doesn't need rewiring when we or someone else comes to change it, which is just a hassle and aggro nobody needs. It seems sensible, knowing that these things tend to grow, to leave that function built in. We've not got our solar switched on yet. The guys are still mounting the panels, but this bit is all buttoned up as normal. The gateways give you a connection for your equipment and also allow for the whole home backup. So you can see we've got the smart port and the grid. Probably already gone through this, so I won't go into too much detail, but it's all labelled up now and ready to go. It looks neat, tidy. There's no real hum to it. Some of them hum more than others. I think it depends on the contactor itself. They're also individual, the nature of the supply, quite what it's mounted to, the area it's mounted. This one, you can't even hear it. So that's great. Not that it's in an area of the house where anyone's going to be listening to it, but it does. I know there's people ask this question. We get it a fair bit in the videos. It's like, how noisy is the gateway? And the short answer is, in my humble opinion, they're not especially noisy at all, but obviously we have different tolerances to these things, and some people are really sensitive to sounds I would say you don't want it in your bedroom or anywhere you're going to be sleeping, but other than that, it's absolutely fine. And Sigenergy have solved this problem. The new silent gateways, I think, are coming onto the UK market around November, I want to say. So these are going to start being phased out, and if you are putting these in areas where people are likely to hear them in their homes, it's less of a factor. So that's good news. I'll take you up to the roof and we'll see what the guys have been up to up there. I'll show you some of the panels going down and you can see how that process works. So you can see up on the roof here we have got our arrays mounted. These JA bifacial solar panels look amazing. The guys have done an incredible job. You can see they are all meshed up with PestFix bird mesh with the required number of clips, and as I've said on prior videos, it's always frustrating that the boxes don't come with enough clips in them. However, we carry ample stock now, having learnt those lessons. We've moved our extractor vents as discussed earlier. We couldn't get them in the soffits, they were just too narrow, so we've replaced those into areas outside of the arrays. We've got our two south facing arrays, so there's these 3 panels here and the 4 in the background. They tie together on one MPPT, and our east roof sits on another MPPT. This larger west roof, you can see to the left, has had to be split across 2 strings just due to the voltage rating of these 15 panels together. So we're making full use of all 4 MPPTs in our inverter, and you can see again they look the absolute business. A Tigo optimizer resides under every single panel, giving us monitoring, rapid shutdown, and we can also see in a fault state where any issues might be. Top job by the guys, as always. So I hope you've enjoyed having a good look through another solar system, turning sunshine into power for decades to come. Massive thank you again to our wonderful customers who've looked after us so well through the course of this project, and a huge thanks to Matty and Nathan, who've worked in some very inclement weather, producing ever more high quality installation work out on the roof. 31 beautiful bifacial JA solar 450 watt panels, optimised with Tigo optimizers. We do have elements of shading on this system, as you will have seen, but it also brings the benefit of rapid shutdown, monitoring and data, which I think is absolutely key regardless of the optimization. We've got our PestFix bird guard as always. We've used our PV Ultras, absolutely game-changing product. If you're not aware of PV Ultra, check out Doncaster Cables. If you're an installer, it's an absolute no-brainer. It saves so much time through the course of fitting your system, but also gives you really reliable, robust cabling on your DC distribution, which is really challenging when we're fighting against the weather, animals, rodents, and all the rest of that stuff. And regardless of what some industry articles are currently pumping out, trying to poo-poo over British innovation, I think it's absolutely incredible, and it certainly satisfies the intent of BS 7671, and I have no problem in using it on our systems. It enhances safety and performance. We have also got our Sigenergy system, as you can see behind me here. These are absolute beasts. We've got projects booked months ahead where we're fitting these pretty much exclusively. It's gone incredibly well since this product launched. We were one of the installers who brought this into the social media space with our good friend Lewis from Sigenergy, and it's just gone bananas for it because the product speaks for itself. Installers love it, consumers love it, and the innovation that's coming around it is happening all the time. The app just gets better and better. So if you're thinking about which product to go for, you will not find anything better than Sigenergy, in my humble opinion. As I said earlier on in this video, if you're looking for a system to be proposed for your home, there'll be a link in the description where you can go off and get in touch with us. It'd be an absolute pleasure. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, chuck your comments in below. I love the interaction around these videos, and I'm always happy to try and answer any questions installers or consumers have. See you on the next one.